Thank you so much, Gail. Glad to see everyone here today. For me, it's the morning. I'm over in California, Pasadena to be specific. And I'm so happy to be able to talk to you a little bit about how in the world I actually came to work for a place like NASA. And so let me share my screen so I can share a little bit of my story with you. Looks good? We're good? Okay, well, I figure every story needs a beginning, and this was mine. So here's me. No, I was not an engineer at 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. My mom is on the line. She can help me. I have no idea how old I was in this picture, but I got my start to understanding what engineering was all about actually through my mom's job. So neither of my parents are in STEM. So they don't do the science, engineering, math, and stuff. But my mom works with tons of engineers and she would bring me in for Bring Your Child to Work Day. So I knew at the very least that engineers made things. And I thought that was pretty cool. It meant that all the mysterious things we had in our house, like the TV, like my video games, somebody actually had the job of making them, which always is cool. But I think the most important thing about my childhood is the fact that my parents never put me in a box. So I was free to go down the pink aisle and the blue aisle in Toys R Us to figure out what I'd actually like. So I would take my Barbie doll, strap it to a remote control car, and get it down the stairs to see what would happen next. It's the best of both worlds, being curious about things. But when I got to high school, I started to realize that I needed to think a little bit more about what I wanted to do. So my interests were all over the place. I was in the debate club. Maybe I'll be a lawyer. I absolutely loved math. Maybe I'll become a mathematician. I did sports. I loved working with others. I even really enjoyed art. So what was my future going to be? And so when I became a junior in high school, I actually started to receive mail from colleges all over the nation. And it was really overwhelming. I didn't know what to do with it. So I had actually started to just shove them under my bed. But when I ran out of room, I decided to just start throwing them in the trash can because I didn't know what to do otherwise. And on this one particular day, I had gotten my stack of mail, and on top there was a pamphlet from this school called the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Never heard of it. I was about to throw it in the trash, but my mom, she caught me. I'm so glad she caught me on that particular day. And she said, you know, MIT is an amazing school. Let's look at this. And so we did, laid it out on the kitchen table, took a look, and it talked about this summer program. You apply, and if you get in, you come to MIT for 6 weeks with other students from all over the country who are also excited about learning about STEM. And best part was it was free. And so of course my mom said I had to apply. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll write the essays. I'll ask my teachers for the recommendations. And I basically forgot about it, you know? And my classmate asked what I was going to be doing that summer, a couple months later, I said, oh, I'm going to run cross country because that's what I did every summer. But I said, you know what? I may actually also be going to this program at MIT. Not sure if you heard of the school, if I get into it. And he said, MIT? MIT? Do you know what that school is? Do you understand how hard it is to get into? And that's when I went home and for the first time discovered that the previous year, over 2,000 students applied and they only accepted one from my home state of New Jersey. So it was a wrap, right? I didn't have straight A's. I was not perfect. Why in the world would a school like that ever choose a person like me? So I told my mom she wasted my time because there was no way I was going to get in. So when she called me and I was at track practice that spring saying, come home, you have a package in the mail. I'm like, Mom, but we had this conversation. I'm not getting into this school. She's said I needed to come home anyway. And so I did. And she's in the doorway waiting with the package in hand saying, open it, open it. I'm like, fine. And she says, well, Janelle, do you think they send you a package to tell you you didn't get in? I said, oh, wait, that's actually a good point. So I rip it open and I read the first word. Congratulations. Oh my gosh, me. I got into MIT, and this was MIT, a very incredible school with a lot of quirky students who just liked to do things for the sake of doing things. On the bottom, that's an actual wooden roller coaster. I did not get on it, but other people did, so it must have been safe. On the top right, I was coming back from office hours and saw some students looking at our tallest building, and I realized they're playing Tetris through the windows. Like, how in the world did they do that? And in the top left, this was the building that I took my physics class, and it kind of looks strange with the architecture, the buildings going this way and that. This was my home. And I remember when I got here, I was still a little unsure of what I wanted to do. I knew I liked math. I knew I liked those other things. So I talked to upperclassmen, and they urged me, just take an intro to engineering class. And they said, MIT is known for its engineering, so just give it a shot. Sounded like a good idea. I had tons of choices. You had the mechanical, chemical, computer, electrical. I mean, the list was endless. And then I came across this one major called aerospace engineering. And you know what? I don't know about all of you, but I've always thought space was cool. So I figured, let me take that class. So I go to the class, and the professor is going over the syllabus, and here's all the things we're going to learn throughout the year. And he brings up this amazing image of an astronaut fixing the Hubble telescope. And I'm just looking at this like, wow, these are the things we're going to learn about as aerospace engineers. And he points at the picture, and he says to the class, and that astronaut in the photo is actually me. Like, wait, I went from never knowing anyone who had ever worked for NASA in my entire life to being in the same room as a real life astronaut who was going to be teaching me aerospace engineering. I mean, these are one of those moments when, if you were the main character of a story, is your decision to go or to not go. It's like Harry Potter having Hagrid break into his house and saying, Harry, you're a wizard, come with me. And Harry has to decide, do I stay here with my normal life, or do I get on the back of this guy's motorcycle and go to wizarding school? This was my wizarding school, and I decided I'm going to do aerospace engineering. And so I went through with it. I got my degree, and I knew that I wanted to work for this magical place called the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Just this JPL, the 3-letter word kept coming up, JPL, used in all the examples in my classes. And so that's where I wanted to work. And I didn't get the internship twice. I applied and I didn't get it, but I kept going. I kept looking to improve myself. And by the end, I landed the job, and I was brought on as an instrument operations engineer. This is me sitting in JPL's mission control, which to me is our coolest building. I absolutely love it in here. And I basically started JPL having no clue what those 3 words meant. What in the world is an instrument operations engineer? I kind of got a little nervous, like, oh no, I got the job, but what is it? But I learned very quickly that this is one of the absolute coolest jobs at JPL. So to break it down a little bit, what is an instrument? Am I talking about musical instruments here? Probably not, right? In this case, instruments are the scientific instruments that we put on our spacecraft. So you could think of the spacecraft as the vehicle. It gives you the power, it keeps you alive, and it gets you from point A to point B. Now, the scientific instruments put on the spacecraft are what tell us more about the amazing places that we're visiting in our universe. And so my job as an instrument operations engineer is to operate the scientific instruments that we put on our spacecraft. And how in the world do you actually do something like that? Well, I found out that we use these giant antennas located all over the world, 3 of which are the largest and are actually the size of the Disneyland castle. So really tall, you think of it like that. One of them's actually here in California, another's in Spain, and the third is in Australia. But there are a bunch of smaller antennas located too. And in order to do my job and operate these instruments, I need to be able to listen to the scientists and figure out what they want and turn those into instrument language. And instrument language comes in the flavor of ones and zeros, 0, 1, 1, 0, what we call binary or bits. It's something that if we look at, I couldn't tell you what this means, but if we use software and code, we can decode these messages into something that is meaningful to us. In this case, this message says, dare mighty things. And I thought this was a great example to use because I'm not sure if any of you heard about us landing a rover on Mars this past February, which was absolutely crazy, but we also actually got video of it. And one of the coolest parts of the video to me was when the parachute was deployed. So here it goes, whoosh, like, wow, this happened on Mars and we got to see it. And I remember looking at the parachute and just thinking to myself, why is the white and orange in that pattern? I didn't really know. I wasn't working on the team, but it came out that it actually was a code in binary that spelled out dare mighty things, the JPL mantra, along with the longitude and latitude of where JPL is located in Pasadena. I thought that was so cool. So as my job as an instrument operator, I've gotten the chance to work on missions at Saturn and our own planet Earth. And it's been such an amazing roller coaster of 5 years to be able to work on so much in a short period of time, starting off in the Cassini mission, which, by the way, is almost 1 billion miles away from the sun. We're talking super far. We're talking it launched in 1997 and 7 years later reached Saturn finally. That's how far we're talking. And it was my job on this mission to take pictures with Cassini's cameras, like the ones you're looking at right now. This is not an artist rendition. These are actual images of actual Saturn. I mean, talk about a cool job. And beyond Cassini, because that mission did come to an end, I also got the chance to work on the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, which is currently orbiting our moon and taking images that will tell us more about the thermal properties or temperature, surface temperature of the moon, which also tells us about where we should land if we send humans in the future. And what I also find amazing and important is that JPL also does tons of work regarding our own planet Earth, our home. And of those projects, I'm working on the multi-angle imager aerosols, or MAIA for short, measuring pollution in different cities around the world in order to figure out what kinds of pollutants are causing health problems for people in a one-of-its-kind mission for NASA. This is going to be launching in a couple of years. Keep an eye out for that. And I'm also working on SWAT, which will be launching also in a year or so, and Sentinel-6, which launched last November, both looking at the properties of surface seawater rise and topography. But of course, I don't want to just tell you all the technical stuff, even though it's very cool and amazing. I also want to show that working at JPL could be a fun experience. I mean, I got to hold an Emmy about 2 years into working at JPL. That's the picture in the bottom left. That trophy is an Emmy award that Cassini won for all the amazing outreach things it did during its grand finale. NASA's first ever Emmy. Snoopy came to visit. Mark Rober, that's the guy who does the elephant toothpaste and the YouTube stuff, ex-JPLer. Being at a place like this is magical and wonderful because we get to do work together as teams that helps to benefit humanity. And in my free time, I also like to have fun. With my cat, Luna, I dressed up to do cosplay in California. I learned how to scuba dive. I visited one of the tallest trees in the world. I got to travel and hang out with my friends from MIT. And I just want to leave you with this, and that's that the universe lies ahead. Nothing will hold you back. And if someone like me could end up at places like MIT and JPL, that means that you too absolutely can.